Well, if you're watching my channel, I want to tell you something that I wish would have been instilled in me, because you hear it in songs and shit like that, but nobody's gonna do a fucking thing for you guys. Nothing. If you're young and you're just growing up, I want you to internalize that. I mean, take it and put it real deep in your consciousness. Your friends, this isn't a TikTok reel. Nobody's gonna do a fucking thing for you in life, okay? Nothing. Get it out of your head. You're on your own. That's just how it is. Nothing. You're gonna find out in life that your best friends, they're all gonna sell you out for the next woman that comes along. You find yourself a friend, a real friend, it's almost impossible that would turn a woman down. And women, all the women in your life, almost all of them are gonna end up turning on you. It might be a matter of time. It might take 10 years. That is the real world. If you want to be successful, you're going to have to start just being successful for yourself. And I wish somebody had really driven that point home for me when I was younger. Without saying it in a way that, doesn't really codify the situation. How desperate and dire it is. Because anytime you have a woman in your life, or a best friend, etc., etc., let me tell you what, the moment that best friend finds a girl, that girl's going to take all the time and energy away from your friend. That's not going to be the same friend you've had. And it won't be the same friend you have in the future. I don't care what people say to me. I don't care. If they call me a misogynist, they can. I don't care. Women are out to take your energy, period. Whether it's in family, relationship, and some men really enjoy that. That's okay. But you can't have both worlds. You can't sit here and tell me that you have a girlfriend and you're still the same friend you were to your other buddies. So you have to instill that information down, distill it, crank it in your mind, in your body, your soul. That if you want to make it in this world and you want to be super successful, it's going to come down directly just to you. Being selfish for yourself, making decisions for yourself. Now, I'm not against having a wife and starting a family and all that other good stuff. But like everybody says, the most successful families you're going to find out there were successful for themselves before they decided to get together with somebody and have try to make a team. Because when you become successful in life for yourself, that allows you to learn life lessons so that when you're choosing a partner, instead of just falling in love over pheromones and sexual attraction, the more success you have in life before you make those decisions, the better partner and life choices you're going to make in your partner in life. Basically, what I'm saying is the more successful you are independently before you decide to go out and have a family, the more successful your family is going to be. The correlation's unmatched. And you might say, Switch, how the hell would you know? You're a damn idiot. Well, the most successful things I've ever done in my life, I've done on my own. You don't have anybody in your life. Even when you have people in your life, they're getting something from you, folks. That's the only reason they're around. Nobody in their right mind would stick around somebody if they weren't taking something from them, getting something in return from them. And if you're the strongest partner in that relationship, there's more being taken from you then you're getting back in return. That's a fact, Jack. Like for me, I can do almost anything on my own. I can do everything on my own, basically. I'm fully sufficient. I have never been to a dealership besides to pick up a part I couldn't get online, like a weird parts. I've never bought anything new. Everything I've bought was used, not running, and I've fixed. I've never bought a new appliance in my life. I could fix and make anything I want, weld anything I want together. Whether or not the welds would be to your approval, that's your business. But I'm 100% self-sufficient. I could put up solar panels if I needed to. If I didn't want to work with the electrical company anymore, I could run a full solar system by myself, which I've done out in the middle of the woods. I could dig my own well. My well, which is really easy, actually. People that have no idea. I mean, I could run my own well with my own, it's called a point well. You drill into the ground, or you hammer a well point, put in a pump, electrical or mechanical. Obviously, you'd want electrical. What I'm saying is, I offer a lot to a partner. I can roof my own house. I did roof my own house. Fix chimneys. I can drywall. I'm a plumber. I can literally build the house if I had to, or a cabin. I could run the well point. I could run the electricity, solar panels. I could do everything self-sufficiently all by myself. I wouldn't need any partner or anybody else there unless it's just for emotional support. 90% of the time, the person that's with me, the only help I get is they'll sit next to me while I'm working on the car when I have a really good partner. Just them talking to me and laughing with me. So when I'm doing the job, it doesn't even feel like I'm doing a job, you know, because my hands, it's almost like what they call muscle memory, you know. If I got to put in a transmission or something, I don't even have to look at the bolts when I'm putting them in a hole, you know, snugging them up and stuff and lifting transmissions. And really the best partners I've ever had in life, they'll help out when I need help if something's heavy, or hold the transmission there while I'm replacing a clutch, or blah, 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 blah. But for the most part, them being a good partner is just being emotionally supportive. So what I look for in a partner is emotional support, you know? I don't need a partner that's going to tell me what to do, because I know what to do. And 90% of the time, the partners I've been with that try to tell me what to do are wrong. All I'm saying is you're going to have to learn in this world in 2026 that if you want to be successful, you're going to have to do it by yourself. Nobody's going to help you. Nobody. It's sad. Your friends will be sniffing on your girlfriends. Your parents have their own problems. Half of them have double mortgages, triple mortgages. 90% of parents are your worst enemy. 90% of the problems in this world are from parents, the way they raise their children in the first place. So I would say that your parents aren't even, for 90% of you, aren't even going to be a benefit. They're going to be a detriment to your relationship and your relationships in society. Learn to love yourself. Learn something new every day. Learn something new every day. That's probably the biggest motto I've ever had, and I actually stick by. Like mechanically, like something that's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that's how that worked. You know? Every day. Find something new. That's what I do, you know? Every day I try to learn something new mechanically, and I'm not even kidding. I learned all about refrigerators this week. How they operate, how the dethaw function works, thermostats in them. Learn very skilled trades, you know, understanding systems and different things, you know. Learn how to be self-sufficient, you know. Solar systems, learning positive, reinforceable lessons in life, you know. Stuff that nobody can take away, that is invaluable to yourself and in society. If you make yourself invaluable, then others will always have a need for you in their lives. Just remember not to give yourself away until you're ready, and pick the right partner. Don't just go out, knock somebody up, and have those initial feelings of love that only last 3 to 6 months. And then years later, you realize that you've chosen the wrong partner, and then you're going through a split, and you're paying child support, or don't end up like that. It doesn't mean you have to be positive. I'm a very negative person. Trying to be positive is probably my hardest, it's probably the hardest thing I learn every day is trying to stay positive. Being positive is super difficult. Doesn't mean I can't do positive things. It just means that being positive about the world and people and interactions in society, the more you learn and the more capable you become as a man or woman on vehicles, all these different things I'm telling you about and systems and how they operate and stuff, and learning all this stuff, the more it's harder to become positive, because then you just see that the world is so, I don't want to call them lazy, but they can't even do oil changes, and you just realize that people are so broken in this society and broken into this society. Like society has broken them into form, where they go to the dealership to buy the car. They go and take out a credit card to get an appliance. They have no idea that there's a belt on a dryer. They have no idea that it's usually the springs that go on a washing machine. When the basket starts hitting the sides, that they have to replace springs, and it could save them $2,000. One day I went through all the stuff I know from roofing that I've taught myself, house electrical work I've done, vehicle repair, and I figured it all out that I'm going to easily save $1 million, probably. $500,000, $1 million in my lifetime, between never ever having to purchase a washer and dryer, never gonna have to purchase a refrigerator. I'll never have to call somebody to do my plumbing or lay tile for me, or I'll never have to have somebody level my basement for me. I'll never have to worry about foundation repair. I'll never have to worry about fixing a vehicle. I'll never have to hire somebody to do anything for me. But it's a lonely existence once you get here, because you don't rely on anybody. So you don't fit into their system where it's about relying on everybody else. That's how we're taught in school. They want you to rely on everybody else. Everybody has a function and only one function, right? This person does this person does that, but they call everybody else for everything else, So you all become molded and shaped into a system where you're needed for your position, but you also need. And when you need it, you become part of this whole system where nobody's self-reliant on just themselves anymore for everything. And you have to be. If you think you're going to be successful in 2030s, you'll have to be self-sufficient for everything in your life. That means you'll have to learn. So every day, just if you learn one little thing about a system every day, like little things, like on a vehicle, I started with the smallest things. It started with doing my own oil changes. It went to doing my own brakes, learning how to replace the serpentine belt, learning what pulley noises sounded like before taking maintenance, and then you go from maintenance into doing your first wheel bearing, and so on and so forth. Take the back of your washer and dryer off one day and watch it operate. Just clean it out. You take apart the back of your dryer. It's 4 little screws or bolts, you guys, 4. And you pop it off, nice and easy. You don't even have to do anything like serious. Just unplug it or kick the breaker over so there's no electricity, because that's 220 and it'll fry your ass. You probably won't die. I've been hit with it. You don't want to be hit with it. It'll knock your socks off. What I'm saying is, take it off one day and just look back there. And then you get to clean it out. Take your shop vac with you and look at how parts operate. Things are a lot easier than you think. All you have is a drum, is just a barrel that spins, guys, on bearings. And the bearings are just little wheels that hold something into place and spin. And you guys, That's all it is a drum that spins in a circle. That's it. Just like a drum, like an open bucket that spins. And then you have a heating element that heats up the barrel so that the clothes are in a hot barrel. And then you have, what I'm saying is take the back off and just inspect things and you see how they work and operate. If you do stuff like that every once in a while, once a week, you look into something else. Next thing you know, you're going to be able to, next thing you know, in 10 years, you're going to look back and be like, your buddy's going to tell you about how they had to bring the car in for $3,000 repairs, $4,000 repairs, blah, blah, blah. Or that they needed a new washer or dryer. That's all you're going to hear every day. That's all I hear. That's whenever I call a friend, it's always that something broke and they need something fixed, or they paid for this or they paid for that. I haven't called for a repair on anything in my life. I've never seen a repairman in my entire life, all my years, not one time. If something breaks, I figure out how to fix it. At all costs, people. At all costs. And I figure, with all appliances included, considering new refrigerators, blah, 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 you're talking $10,000 for all new appliances, right? And that lasts every 10, 15 years. Average lifespan about 75 years. That's 7 times 10 right just there. That's $70,000 you'll spend on appliances in your lifetime. That's not including cars. Cars on average are around $40,000. They figure you go through 4 or 5 new cars in your lifetime. There you go. 4 times 5, that's another $200,000. You're talking $270 right there. And that's just shooting from the hip. That's $250,000 right there, shooting from the hip. I don't know, people. I've never once spent a single dollar. All I have to buy is parts, and 90% of the time, like I said, to fix my freezer and refrigerator this week, it cost me $11.99 with free shipping. To put then I found out. Then what happens usually what breaks is something really easy, and then you find out how the system's made to break you. See, they hide this little part behind the freezer, and the freezer hooked up to your drain line off your compressor, off the regardless, you'll see this little itty bitty part. It's called a thermostat, a freezer dethaw thermostat, and they go out, and they're made to go out. They're molded to go out so that your freezer and refrigerator stop working properly because ice builds up. And that's the only part you need to replace on your $2,500 refrigerator that you're bringing to the curb is $7.99 with $4 shipping on Amazon. Save you $2,000, $2,500. Once people start to live a life like that, they'll become super successful because it transfers everything in your life. When I started living that way, I ended up going to college and getting 3 college degrees. Because I transferred the knowledge of learning how something operates to school, not giving up. Before I adopted that lifestyle when I was younger, I'd give up on everything. And then finally at 23, I believe I was, and I was already a mechanic, and I started applying this to college, I finally started to succeed in my decision making and choices, and I got older. I enjoyed college. I loved it. I didn't want to leave because college is all about the experience of learning. It's the whole experience around learning. It's the experience of meeting new friends that want to learn, good people. But just remember what I told you. Everybody in life is going to move on from you. Everybody. So you got to stop relying on people. So when you have a really good friend, like when I was in college, some of my friends were HVAC, some of them were automotive, some of them were electricians, blah, 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 blah. In life, those friends are not going to be around. You cannot rely on those friends to help you forever. So take the information that your friends are learning in school, that they're teaching you, and blah, 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 and become self-sufficient in your life, and you will be a completely successful person. Specialize in one thing is fine, but learn everything. Don't just specialize in becoming an electrician and then act like you don't need to learn everything else. How to fix a car, etc., etc. You'll become super successful. You'll always have a nice chunk of money in your bank account. You'll be able to have your own house. You'll be able to go and get a house for the cheapest house out of anybody you know if you're able to do it. Nothing will be overwhelming once you've learned that you can fix anything. Nothing's overwhelming. Everything follows the same code. Whether you're a mechanic, troubleshooting is the answer. So whether you're a mechanic, electrician, whether you're a HVAC specialist, you all learn to troubleshoot a problem. And once you learn to troubleshoot a problem, a leak for a roof is no different than a wire that's shorting out in the wall, is no different than a transmission that's shifting funny. Once you learn to troubleshoot, it spreads across all areas of your life, including friendships and family and choices on who you want to be partners with in life. Choose wisely, or you're going to end up like me, where everybody's gone. Love